Unmute if you have any questions, of course. Shavua Tov, a good tabach. And your session will be a week of Refuah and a week of Yeshuos. We're going to be learning tonight Daf Samech Gimel Amud Beis and Samech Daled. Because of the length of the blot here, with Samech Daled being a little longer and a little nuanced, I'm going to be stopping a little bit more than halfway down on Samech Daled Amud Beis. But that will be compensated by the fact that tomorrow night that the Amud Beis is relatively short. That will hopefully make tonight a little bit shorter than having pushed to the bottom of Samech Dalet. We're starting now on the bottom of Samech Gimel Amud Aleph. Yesterday, I should say rather Thursday, we learned a number of mini sugyas about the mitzvah of Talmud Torah and how when people interact with each other in a meaningful way in Talmud Torah, that it earns them certain zechuyos, certain merits with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And we're not going to be continuing with that theme, but we are going to be continuing with some of the same names of people who presented the previous sources. Just from the structure of the Gemara and some of its methodology, this is not an uncommon practice where the Gemara will give a whole continued page, sometimes even longer, when quoting from one person, an opportunity to showcase and to highlight that particular person. And here, these are a lot of quotations in the name of Reish Lakish or Shimon ben Lakish, and Rav Kahana as well has been mentioned a few times. And in particular, we're starting, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines from the bottom of Samech Gimel Amud Aleph with the words, Amar Rabbi Abba, Amar Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish, and he taught us a very important din. The truth is that it may be relevant now more than ever with one of the highest unemployment rates we've ever had since the last major depression. And the Gemara here teaches us a way to navigate. Gadol hamalve yoser min ha'osa tzedakah. It's better to lend someone money in order to get them on their feet than it is to give them straight up tzedakah. Umatil bekis yoser b'kulan. And the best thing to do is to make sure that you make money yourself. What does this mean? This means that you should go into partnership with someone. Let's say that I want to start a venture, and I also know that you're poor. So I'm going to lend you money, but I'm going to lend you money in a way that makes me and you partners. So that is the Spitz version of giving tzedakah. According to this, it's famously known that the Rambam has a list of the priorities within tzedakah, some of which is giving tzedakah where neither person knows, and then all the iterations therein. One person knows, the other one doesn't, and vice versa. And this is really, says the Gemara, a very, very lofty level of how one should be giving tzedakah. If a Talmud Chacham takes revenge on someone like a snake would, afalpi that it may not be ideal, says the Gemara, Chagrehu almasnecha, you should keep him close to you, literally to be choger is like a belt. Almasnecha, keep him close to you. But im am haaretz hu chasid, if you have exposure to an am haaretz who is a chasid, very nice person, a mensch of a guy, but he's an am haaretz dorai, so he's not really holding. So then, al tadur b'shchunasa, then you should not live where this person lives. Take a look at Rashi, 5 lines from the bottom, Dibur HaMaschil, al tadur b'shchunasa, she'eno yodeh b'dikduke mitzvos. The am haaretz we're describing is someone who's not holding in mitzvos. He doesn't know the dikduke halacha, and the concern is, of course, that we will be influenced. We're not talking about influence from a Russia. We're talking about an influence from someone who's a very nice person. They're kind, they're otherwise wonderful people, but the problem is that they don't know ve'in chasidus shalim. Their chasidus, their being a nice person, is lacking. V'sof chalil mod mimenu, and unfortunately, sometimes when someone's very nice, but they're just not educated in the Torah pathway, so then we could learn from them in ways that are really not ideal. Says the Gemara, 3 lines from the bottom. Amar Rav Kahana, Amar Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish, ve'amrei la, Amar Rav Asi, Amar Reish Lakish, ve'amrei la, Amar Rabbi Abba, Amar Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish, one of those few iterations. Excuse me just 1 second, please. The Gemara here says, Kol hamagadel kelev ra b'soch beso, monea chesed mitoch beso. Someone who raises a dog that is evil, that is dangerous, that's scary, in his house, that is a house from which chesed will be withheld. There's a big discussion in the Maharsha and in other Meforshim as to whether or not the word ra is to be found in the Gemara. So let's read it the other way. Kol magadel keleb b'soch beso, just raising a dog at all. So that's very interesting. We have to figure out what pshat is here. What is monea chesed, that it limits chesed in the house? Take a look at Rashi, 3 lines from the bottom. Monea chesed she'eno meniach it's a kind of dog that you have, whether or not you call it ra, it seems to be pshat in the Gemara, that it's a type of dog that induces a little bit of fear, and therefore people are hesitant, they're reticent to come join your house. And if your house is the kind of house where you want to do chesed, then you can't have a dog that's a Doberman Pinscher, these scary animals. That's not welcoming. And this is based on a pasuk, says the Gemara, as we turn to the top of Samach Gimel Amud Beis, Shene'emar lamas mere'ehu chased. Lamas, Rashi on the bottom of the page already calls that Dahainu Keleb. We'll see in the Gemara that we're going to give a specific shot for that word, and that is what the pasuk is that supports us. And the Gemara continues, Shekain b'lashon Yavanis, in the language in speaking Greek, Korin lekelev lamas. That's the language that they would refer to. I don't know if anybody speaks modern day Greek, but that's what the Gemara says was the word there. Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak on the same topic adds, Omar, Af porek mimenu yiras shamayim. If a person has a kelev ra in their house, or a kelev, again, depending on how we understand pshat in the Gemara, so that's porek mimenu yiras shamayim. That limits from a person their yiras shamayim. Shene'emar, as the pasuk says, I'll read the whole pasuk. Lamas mere'ehu chased v'yiras shakai ya'azov. If you have a dog that will then prevent you from doing kindness to others, then yiras shakai ya'azov, the fear of Hashem, you will leave. There are some who give pshat that you trust that your dog will be taking care of you and protecting you more than a Kadosh Baruch Hu, and therefore it is a reduction in one's yiras shamayim. Says the Gemara, a very unfortunate story that took place. 4 lines, top of Samach Gimel Amud Beis. Hahi itza, there was a woman. Ta'ila lahahi beisa lameifa. There was a woman who was a baker, and she went into someone's house to go do some baking. And when she got there, nobach ba kalba, the dog started barking very, very loudly. And unfortunately, is'aker vlada, she was pregnant, and she was in so much fear that she unfortunately miscarried. Omar La, the owner said, he obviously didn't know that she had miscarried, but she could sense in her body that she had miscarried. Amar La Mari de Besa, the owner of the house, said, Lo sidcheli, don't worry, Rebbitzin, you can come in and bake. The shkili nibe, I've taken out the dog's teeth. Ushkilin tufre, and I've taken out the dog's claws, the dog's nails. The language of tufra in Aramaic, which we have in Chulin about shchita, that language in Maseches Chulin is that the shochet has to check the knife. Bisra ve'atufra, he has to check the knife against his flesh and against his tufra, against his nails, to make sure that there's no nicks in the knife. Same word. Amra Allah, she said back to him, Shkola tivusech v'shaja achizre. Go take all of the good deeds that you did. You pulled out the teeth and you pulled out the nails. That's really great that you already did that, but I think things are a little bit too late. Kvar nad vlad. Unfortunately, she had already miscarried. Amar Rav Huna, my dechsi, what does the pasuk mean? Smach b'chor b'yalduscha v'yitivcha libcha b'mei b'charusecha v'halach b'darchei libcha v'marei necha v'da ki al kol eile yeviach Elokim b'mishpat. The beginning of the pasuk seems to speak very positively that a young boy can be happy in his childhood, his heart will be good in the days of his youth, and he can go in the ways of his heart, v'marei necha, and he can go in the ways of his eyes. But done, you should know, ki al kol eile, on all of these things, yeviach Elokim. So the pasuk has 2 halves. One half seems very positive. The other half seems to be about mishpat. Says the Gemara, what's pshat in the pasuk? God kan divrei yitzhahara, mikan ve'elach divrei yitzhahara, divrei yitzer tov. The first half of the pasuk, everything is going great, everything is going wonderful. That's the yitzer hara. That's not right. That's the wrong perspective. There should always be a degree of push, a degree of growth, and a degree of challenge. And at the end, when we see that we're being b'mishpat, that Baruch Hashem, that's our Yetzer Tov, then we know that we have to be sharp. When we get to the days of Rosh Hashanah, we know that it's Yemei Mishpat, and we start to kind of to tighten all the screws and to make sure that we're in a little bit better form as we step up to the plate for the Yamim No Run. So that's one pshat. And another pshat says, Reish Lakish Amar, Ad kan divrei Torah mikan va'elech l'masim tovim. One is a person that's divrei Torah. You're sitting, you're learning, Baruch Hashem, when you're young, ben chamisha l'mikra, you're learning a lot of Torah, you're doing great. But if it doesn't turn into maisim tovim, mikan va'elech l'maisim tovim, if you've learned, but you haven't learned in a way where it has integrated into who you are, the Gemara in Kedushin relates that gadol Torah shemevi lidei maisa, that when a person is learning, that their mindset should be one that leads towards action. We should not just be learning for the sake of learning alone, though that's valuable. But the highest form of learning is when it brings us to action, when it brings us to serving a Kadosh Baruch Hu better. So that's how Reish Lakish understands Pshat in the pasuk. It's great that you're learning Torah in your childhood, but Tachlis, it's going to come down to Ma'asim Tovim. Our Mishnah spoke about an item of clothing that a woman would wear called a biris, and the Mishnah said biris tahora. Tahora, of course, is not only a reference to purity of that kli, but a reference to the fact that it can be makabel tuma, or whether or not it can be makabel tuma. This biris could not be makabel tuma, and it was permissible for a woman to wear this out on Shabbos. Amar Rabbi Yehuda, biris zo etz ada. This biris that the Mishnah refers to is a bracelet. Says the Gemara, a bracelet must be Rav Yosef biris tahora biyosin babas Shabbos. We said in our Mishnah that a biris is tahora and that a woman is allowed to carry this out on Shabbos. She's allowed to wear it out on Shabbos. Vilu etz ada, but a bracelet tmehi. She's not allowed to wear this particular bracelet that the Gemara is referencing. Says the Gemara, Achi kamar biris tachas etz ada omedes. This particular biris is referring to a different kind of bracelet. And the Meforshim explained that we're talking about the type of band that she'd wear around her leg to keep up her leg coverings. While we're on the topic of leg coverings, just an interesting halachic discussion. We know famously from the Gemara says shok b'isha erva, that a woman's shok is considered to be erva. We typically translate that as thigh. How do we define that? Is the knee included? Is the knee excluded? Do we say that a woman has to cover her knees when she sits down and when she stands up and when she raises her everything, all the different iterations? The seemingly normative practice within the Orthodox community is to ensure that one's knees are covered even when they're sitting. But in regards to covering one's calves, that's a shaila that comes up in the poskim in regards to minhag hamakom. If you're in a place where the common trend is for everyone to cover their calves, then a woman should be appropriately following that minhag. If she's in a community where nobody does, then there's no need to follow such a minhag. So that aspect of a woman covering her legs, her calves, is a din that relates to minhag hamakom. Masha'en kein shok b'isha erva is a formal din in regards to erva, and typically speaking, we assume that tefach b'isha erva, that once a woman has revealed at least one tefach of skin, of flesh, of body part, of hair that is otherwise supposed to be covered, so that is already an infraction as it relates to halacha. So this woman was wearing this particular band around her socks or stockings to make sure that they'd stay in place. Yosef, Rabbi, and Rav Huna, halfway down Samech Gimel Amud Beis. Yosef, Rabbi, and Rav Huna, Kamei de Rav Yirmiyah. These two Talmidim, Rabbi and Rav Huna, were sitting next to Rav Yirmiyah. Yosef, Rav Yirmiyah, become a namname, and Rav Yirmiyah, who was sitting there, he was dozing off, he was falling asleep. He was half in and half out listening to this conversation. Yosef Rabin, and Rava was talking, and he said to Rav Huna, "V'kamar biris ve'achas kvalim b'shtayim." We learned about these both of these things a while ago. A biris is this band that a woman may wear on one leg, but kvalim, we said that these are certain kinds of metal chains that a woman would wear on her leg to keep her stockings up as well. And so when it's on one leg, it's referred to as a biris, and when it's on two legs, it's referred to as kvalim. Says the Gemara, Amar le Rav Huna, elu ve'elu v'shtayim. That's not true. They're both shtem. They're two different types of systems to hold up one's stockings. However, umatil and shalshelas b'neim anasu kvalim. The way we change a biris, which is a woman wearing this type of band on each leg, the way we turn it into the same status as kvalim is by making a link with some type of chain to link one to the other, so that that you wouldn't lose them. And that would be how she would wear them. It would only partially limit the way she's walking. We'll see a wild story shortly in the Gemara about this. And then the Gemara just asks, hold on one second. We said that we know that by kvalim that's usher to wear out on Shabbos, but we said that the what's the word? The biris is permissible to wear out on Shabbos. So v'shal shela shabo mashvele mamana. Once you put in this thing, it's no longer a biris. All of a sudden, it's kvalim, and now it's usher to wear out. How can that be? And if you want to say that that's true, and we're following Reb Shmuel bar Nachmani, a Gemara that we learned already, these kvalim were made out of metal, and they would make a particular sound when a woman would walk. So maybe we're saying that that's why they're muksa. But if you want to say that that's true, Dam Rabbi Shmuel bar Nachmani, we learned it then like this already. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, minayin lemashmiya kol bekli matachos. How do we know that if a person has a kli and it's metal and it's making noise, shu tameh? Shene'emar kol davar asher yavo ba'esh afilu dibur b'mashma. Anything that makes a sound, the word davar in that pasuk, as we highlighted a couple of blot ago, is extra. And the Gemara is saying here, based on the word davar, that seemingly any metal that makes sound should be a problem. So says the Gemara, Bishlam, I could understand Hassam in the case that we spoke about a few blot ago as to why Rabbi Yochanan would say this din. Because over there, kabo la kala, you were using the bell. In that particular case, it was a bell without the clapper. And then we said, what's the point of the bell without the clapper? You could bang it on kli cheres, you could bang it on something like pottery to make a noise. So there we saw that when you make something that's made out of metal and makes noise, perfect. Bishlam, that I understand. Let's just read that again so that it's clear. Bishlam Hassam, I understand in the previous case, we learned a couple of blot ago, the source of the din of Rabbi Yochanan, that something that makes noise is considered to be a kli. Hassam kabo leilakala. There's a bell. The bell's used to make noise. I want the bell to make noise. Therefore, it's problematic. The kavid maisa, you did something to it. Hacha, my maisa kavid. But here, The woman's not wearing the kvalim in order to make it so that it makes a sound. She's wearing it to make sure that her stockings stay in place. So why then would it become muksa? So says the Gemara, because really hachanami ka'avid maisa. Really, there is a benefit to this other than just keeping up the stockings. And what is that? Says the Gemara as follows: The Amar Rabba bar Barchana Amar Rav Yochanan Mishpacha Achas Haisa b'Yerushalayim. There was a particular family that lived in Yerushalayim. Shahayu psiosehen gasos. Their family, the way that they grew up in their family, everybody took massively wide strides. However, it had a terrible side effect. Bayu besulosehen noshros. The women, the way that they would walk, it would sever their basulim, it would sever the hymen to make them no longer a woman who's treated as a basula in regards to her ksuba, in regards to people making tainas on her after they get married. Pesach, Basuach, Matzasias, we're going to learn a Maseches ksubas in many, many months / years. I have no idea when it's going to be. So these women in the family, every time that they'd walk, they would be in this complicated scenario, that just the way that they walked, they weren't doing anything crazy, that way that they were raised to walk. It wasn't good for their physiology. So so what did they do for this family? Simple. Asulem kvalim. They made this particular chain system where they had where they had some chain wrapped around the right leg, some chain wrapped around the left, and they would connect the two legs so that the woman's stride would not be so wide. They'd connect the two legs. And that was a pshat in the story. So what do we see from here? We see that when you add in the chain to connect the right leg to the left leg, and it moves from a biris to the kvalim, and it changes into that new system, it's not only to keep up the stockings, it also has a secondary direct benefit to a woman in that it minimizes the risk of breaking her basulim, of her losing her status of being a virgin, and therefore all the halachic implications therein. Now remember, we said that Rav and Rav Huna were talking, and Rav Yirmiyah was kind of half dozing. He woke up. He woke up, Itar Behu, Rav Yirmiyah, Amar Lahu Yaisher. What you're saying is correct. That is in fact pshat, that the din of biris is when one is on each leg, kvalim is when it's on both legs, and there's a direct service, there's a direct maisa that one can benefit from when they have the chain linking the right leg to the left leg, and that it minimizes the risk of losing one's basulim. Amar Rav Yochanan, everybody seems to agree. Kaftor Vaferach. Very clean understanding right now of what a biris is. A biris is seemingly chains or a band on one leg, and kvalim is when it's, biris is when it is something that's on both legs, and it is in the status of kvalim when we connect them. Why is it that biris is tahora and kvalim are not allowed? The reason why is because by the kvalim it had a direct benefit to the body, and that it helped a woman protect herself to remain a virgin. Kiyasa Rav Dimi, Amar Rav Yochanan, when Rav Dimi arrived, Amar Rav Yochanan, he said in the name of Rav Yochanan, how do we know that any fabric, even a small amount of fabric, as long as it's woven, how do we know kol shu tame? We learned that from the mitzitz, from what the Kohen Gadol used to wear, the gold plate that was on his head. Amar le Abaye, the tzitz arighu, the tzitz was made out of metal. How did you learn, Rav Dimi? How did you learn that someone could have a small piece of clothing that's woven and learn that it's considered to be a tamei b'kolshu from the tzitz, which is made out of metal? These things are not related to each other. In fact, we have a brisa that indicates exactly the opposite of what you're saying, Rav Dimi. The Tanya, tzitz, the garment that the Kohen would wear across his forehead, kimin tas shel zahav, it was like a plate of gold. The rochav shtei etzbos, it had the thickness of 2 etzbos, not very thick, take your 2 thumbs, a very, very thin band of metal that the Kohen would wear. Umukaf me'ozen le'ozen, and it would go from ear to ear. The kasuv alav beveis sheet, and it was written in 2 lines, yud hey lemala. On the top line it was written yud and hey, and the kodesh lamed lemata, and on the bottom it would say the kodesh and then the letter lamed on the bottom. That was the second row. V'amar Rabbi Lazar machlokas, what actually it said on the tzitz. V'amar Rabbi Lazar Rabbi Yossi ani ra'isi b'ir Romi. He said that he was in Rome, and what did he see? The kasuv kodesh laShem b'shita achas. He saw that the tzitz of the Kohen Gadol only had 1 line, and it said Kodesh LaShem, so machlokas and mitzias as to what in fact was actually on the tzitz, what it was not. Nevertheless, what we see from here is that Rav Dimi was wrong, because Rav Dimi tried to learn out the din that any garment, even in a small amount, as long as it's woven together, we learn out that there's a status of tuma, even with no shear. There's no minimum. We learn it out from the tzitz. Says the Gemara, that's not possible from the name of Abai and the name of a Bryce. It's not possible. So therefore, the Gemara corrects itself. In fact, Rav Dimi was Mota al Ha'emes. He admits of his own that he quoted incorrectly. He salik Rav Dimi when he left Lenar Day, he went back home. Shalach lehu, he sent back a letter to Eretz Yisrael because Rav Yochanan was in Eretz Yisrael. He went down to visit Rav Yochanan. Then he went back. He heard the arguments against him in regards to the Brisa, and he was Mota al Ha'emes. What did he say? Shalach lehu, he sent them a letter. Dvarim she'amarti lachem, that we learn out that which is woven was learned out from the tzitz, incorrect. Dvarim she'amarti lachem tos heim biyadi. I misquoted and I apologize. The Ram, however, here is the din that we learned. Kach amru mishum Rabbi Yochanan minayin letachshit kol shehu shutameh. We did learn from a tachshit, that which is made out of metal. How do we know that a tachshit can be tameh even in a minimum shear? That we learned from the tzitz. Uminayin la'ari kol shehu tameh. How do we know from that which is woven, like Rav Dimi initially tried to teach? How do we know from that which is woven that in any small shear it's going to be considered tameh? From the pasuk of O Beged, and we're going to learn more about this pasuk. Tana Rabbanan, the rabbis have taught us in a source that is found in the Tanaim. Arig kolshu tameh, anything that's woven will be tameh in a small shear, any shear. The tachshit kolshu tameh, anything made out of metal, a piece of jewelry, whatever it is, will be considered tameh in the smallest amount. What if it's a mixed bag? What if you have something that's arig v'tachshit? You have metal woven in with thread. So then in that case, kolshu tameh. But now the Brisa or the Tosefta, it's not exactly clear which type of the four types of Torah Satanaim this one is, but nevertheless, the Gemara here says a line, and we're going to spend the next Amud analyzing this line until about 10 lines to the bottom of the Amud with drashas, Gzeira Shava, trying to figure out exactly where the drasha falls, and I will do my very best to keep everything clear as we move along through the next page and speaking about drashos and Tumah V'Tara. So the Gemara here says, Musaf sak al habeged shetame mishum arig. There is a greater level of tumah in regards to sak, which is a reference to that which was, we're going to see in the Gemara what this means, but it's reference to basically something that was derived from a goat, hair that was derived from a goat. Al beged shetame, from a regular garment, mishum arig, when it's woven. Amar Rava, and Rava now looks at this, and now we just finished the Tosefta that we learned, or the Brisa. We learned exactly these three things, that if it's woven in the minimum shear, it's usher. If it's a piece of jewelry, it's going to be usher. The third thing we learned is that if it's a mixed bag of arig and tachshit, if it's woven with metal in it, it's also going to be usher in a very small shear. And the last thing we learned was that there's something more tameh about sak, about this product made of goat hair, than a regular garment that's made out of other materials, which is woven. And now Rava is going to give some Mari Makomos. Omar Rava, Ari Kolshu Tameh Me'o Beget. We learned, as we did earlier, from Rav Dimi, but now it's being quoted in one spot with Rava, giving everything clearly in one small memra, in one small statement of Rava. The first din that we learned about an arig, that which is woven, which is tameh b'kol shehu, even in a very small shear, we learned that from O Beget. 3 lines from the bottom, Samach Gimel Amud Beis. Tachshit kol shehu tameh. We learned that tachshit, a piece of metal, jewelry, is going to be tameh even in a very small shear. Where do we learn that from? Mitzitz. We learned that from the tzitz, like we saw in the Brisa a little bit earlier. Arug v'tachshit kol shehu tameh. Where do we learn that from? That when you have something that's woven together with metal woven into it, how do we know that that's tameh b'kol shehu even in a very small shear? Says the Gemara, mikol kli ma'aseh, from a pasuk that says mikol kli ma'aseh. Let me just give you the full verse that is quoted here. Vayikach Moshe ve'Elazar hakohen es hazahav me'itam, from them, from the Midianites, and we're going to learn about this more. Kol kli ma'aseh. So from there, that's where we learned out the din. It's something that's a weave of arig and tachshit. It's made out of cloth and it's made out of metal. So there we say that it's going to be tameh b'kol shehu. Very good. Amar le'ahume Rabbanan, one of the rabbis in the Amoraim said back leRava, wait a minute, the pasuk of kol kli ma'aseh that you said in regards to arig v'tachshit, you used the pasuk of kol kli ma'aseh from Midian to teach me that arig v'tachshit is going to be considered tameh b'kol shehu. You quoted that from Midian, from the psukim that speak about Midian. So how does that all work out? Amar le, you're right that the pasuk may not specifically be talking about that. However, turning to the top of Samach Daled Amud Aleph, says the Gemara, Kli kli mehasam, we have a Gzeira Shava. Rashi highlights what the Gzeira Shava is. For the sake of brevity, feel free to look at that Rashi. We're going to continue now at the top of Samach Daled Amud Aleph with the last part of the Brisa. We had mentioned in the last part of the Brisa of Musaf Sak al Habeged Shetame Mishum Arig. We said that there was something unique about the goat hair garment as opposed to other types of garments. Says the Gemara, Atu Beged Lav Arughu. What are you talking about? This is going to be any different than a garment that's not arug? What are you talking about? There's tumah by a lot of begadim. What are you talking about? So it says the Gemara, Hachi Kamar, this is pshat. Musaf sak al habeged, afal pishe eno arug tame. In regards to sak, in regards to this material of goat hair, it's going to be tame, even if it's not arug, even if it's just unprepared strands. It's just loose strands of the hair. It'll still have a status of tame with a kolshu, which is not true by other begadim. By other begadim, we have a minimum share. We learned earlier in the Masechta, maybe it's gimel al gimel etzbos, depending on what's going on exactly. But here, with goat hair, it has a chumrah to it, which is that it's going to be treated more stringently than other materials. So that's what the Gemara says, Yafal Pisha Eno Arag Tame. And it says the Gemara, Lamai Chazi, what is that even fit for? Remember, in order for something to be considered Tame, it has to be Shaykh, it has to be a garment, it has to be a kli, it has to be something. What are these little strands of goat hair Shaykh for if they're not already woven together? Someone who's very poor may say, listen, I don't have enough money to give my daughter what she wants. I just don't have it in the bank. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give her whatever I can. All I have is loose strands of goat hair. I'm going to braid it into something, and we're going to put it. The tzavar will put it around her neck. That's the best I can do. Very good. So that's what the hair is shaykh for, and therefore it still has the status of muksa. So that's the uniqueness of sak al habeged, that there's that unique aspect that even when it's not yet arug, even when it hasn't been put on the weave, so still it's going to have a status of tumah. Now we're going to get into these drushos. That's a mixed bag between some important drushos that focuses on Tumah V'Tara. We're going to be learning about regular classical drushas. We're going to be learning about Gzeros Shavas and some of the limitations on Gzeros Shava. Of course, as you well know, Gzeros Shava is one of the 13, the Yud Gimel Midos She'ator Nidreshes Bahen in English. I don't know what this word means, but it's known as the 13 hermeneutical principles. And these are used for the exegetical learnings to try to figure out what exactly a pasuk means, how we take the Torah and make it into the mitzvos, into the halachos that we know. One of them is Gzeros Shava. So we're going to be focusing on that a little bit today. Let's get started. 6 lines down, Daf Samach Daled Amud Tanu Rabbanan, the rabbis taught us. This is in Torah's Kohanim. This is a Medrash Chazal, one of the 4 types of sources in the Torah Satanai. Sak, the pasuk says about sak that it's this wool from this fur from a goat. Sak minayin l'rabos esakil kili v'esachabak. How do I know? These are straps. The kilkali was a chabak that went around the chest of the animal to hold the animal, and the chabak was part of the saddle. How do I know that those are also included in this? How do I know that they're treated the same as sak? Says the Gemara, Talmud Lomar, sak. It's an extra word, so we learn from there. Maybe I could say that not only are those straps, which are used to hold the animal in place, which are used to hold the saddle in place, not only are those included, maybe I could argue that the rope that I use to pull the animal, the chavalim and the mashichos, maybe I could argue that those are also going to have the same exact status. And says the Gemara, absolutely not. Talmud Lomar, sak. Ma sak tavoi v'arig, arig, just like the sak is tavoi v'arig, I've called tavoi v'arig. And therefore, we learn from here that there has to be a common denominator. Just like by the fur that we're talking about here from a goat that typically speaking is woven, there is granted the extreme case of the sak where it's not. But just like in general, we see that it is woven. And that's also the truth with the kilkali and the chabak, with these 2 materials that we saw, which were used to hold down the saddle. Those have the din of tumah. However, when it comes to the chavalim and meshichos, these ropes that were used to pull the animal, these were not woven ropes, and therefore they were not shaykh, they would not become tameh under the circumstances. Says the Gemara, okay, now what I didn't share yet is that all the psukim that we've been using so far for learning are part of the world of sheretz. So now the Gemara is going to diverge and say, hey, you told me this by sheretz. Can you please explain to me, would these items still be subject to tumah if we were dealing with a mace? Because obviously we know that a sheretz is tameh shmona shratzim. 8 of them have a higher status of tumah, but there is no greater status of tumah than a mace, than a human being who died. So how do we apply that which we learned? And I'll review quickly. How do we apply that which we learned from the world of sheretz to the world of tumah's mace? We said that sak, and we said that kilkali and chabak, those are subject to tumah. But we said that the chavalos and the mashichos, the ropes that pull the animal, are not subject to tumah. So let's see how they apply to the world of tumah's mace. Harehu omer b'mace, it says in regards to mace, it says the following pasuk, v'chol kli or v'chol ma'aseh izin, v'gomer tischatau. Okay, so what does that mean? L'rabos, what does that come to include in regards to tumah's mace? Not by sheretz anymore. By sheretz we know 2 things are tameh, 1 thing is not. But what about by tumah's mace? L'rabos, to include akil koli v'sachabak. Yochol, maybe I could argue that when it comes to tumah's mace, she'ani merabeh, I would also include into the level of tumas hachabalim v'sameshichos, and I would also include the ropes that pull the animals v'dinhu, and maybe it's very logical. Why? Because timei b'sheretz v'timei b'meis. Ma kishetime b'sheretz lo timei elo tavui v'arig, like we learned, that maybe we could extrapolate from the world of sheretz to the world of tumas meis. Just like by the world of sheretz, we said as long as it's tavui v'arig, it's woven together, it's thread, it's fabric, it comes off the weave. Therefore, just like over there, we could say that there was a status of tumas, so too over here. I'll read it again. V'dinhu, it's logical. V'dinhu timei b'sheretz v'timei b'meis. Maksha timei b'sheretz lo timei elo tavoi v'arig. Afksha timei b'meis lo timei elo tavoi v'arig. Hey, v'arig, says the Gemara. Hey, is that really your argument? That is not a good argument, because you forgot the most significant elephant in the room between when you are comparing sheretz to a mace, and that is the level of tuma. Says the Gemara, im hekel b'tamei sheretz shehi kala. Obviously, we know by comparison that the tumas sheretz, while in other cases are very significant, but when it's held up against a large overshadowing tuma of a tumas mace, it doesn't even hold a candle. So says the Gemara, im hekel b'tamei sheretz shehi kala, nekel b'tumas hamei shehi chamura. Absolutely not. Talmud Lomar. Therefore, we know that we can exclude the chavalim and meshichos, the ropes that are used to pull the animal, from a gzera shava. Beged ve'or, l'gzera shava. There are two psukim that use the phrase beged ve'or. Ne'emar beged ve'or b'sheret, v'ne'emar beged ve'or b'meis. We have here these two words, beged ve'or, both by the world of sheret and by the world of meis. Ma beged ve'or ha'amur b'sheret, lo timei ela tavui ve'arig. Just like we know that by sheret, that the only time we were mitame is when the rope was betavui v'arig, when it was woven. Af beged ve'or hamor b'meis lo timei ela tavui v'arig. The only time it's going to become tameh is when it's tavui v'arig, and therefore we exclude chabalim and meshichos, which were not tavui v'arig, and therefore the halacha seems to be very similar. Now we tried to argue the same exact thing from logic just before this, but it didn't work, because the Gemara then made a distinction to say, you want to argue from logic that just like by sheretz it's woven, so too by tumas mace it's woven. Logically, you want to argue that? Logically, you cannot argue that, because tumas mace is way more chamor. How does the Gemara answer? With the same exact answer, that just like by sheretz it's woven, so too by mace, but with a gzera shava. And here we learn a critical yesod. We may think logically and to the nth degree, but if it doesn't fit within the halachic framework of understanding of psukim, it is not shaykh. We cannot use our own feeble minds to make a svara. We need to have something that roots our logic so deeply that it's impenetrable. So therefore, when we're using our own logic to compare sheretz to mace, that doesn't work, because the tuma of mace is demonstrably greater than that of sheretz. But when we have a gzera shava, no. When we have a gzera shava, then we can no longer argue that mace is greater than sheretz, because now we're using one of the Yud Gimel Midos, She'atorni Dreshes Behen. These are one of the God-given methods to understanding how to learn, and gzera shava is one of them. The fact that the words exist in both worlds, both in the world of sheretz and in tumas mace, therefore we can no longer argue the difference between them, because HaKadosh Baruch Hu equated them by putting the same words in both worlds. And that's how the Gemara argues. Now, what about going in the other direction? We just learned from the world of sheretz to the world of mace. We learned that chabalim and meshichos, the ropes that are used to pull an animal, were not woven, and just like by sheretz, because of the gzera shava, just like by sheretz, they are not tamei, so too here they're not tamei. What about the other direction? Uma beged ve'or ha'amur b'meis, just like a beged ve'or, we had the words, but remember, gzera shava can go both ways, right? We're trying to figure out, we went from sheretz to mace because the words were the same. Let's go back from mace to sheretz. So says the Gemara, Uma beged ve'or ha'amur b'meis tamei. Kol ma'ase izim, everything in regards to izim, everything in regards to these goats, these animals, we could learn. Af beged ve'or ha'amur b'sheretz tamei kol ma'ase izim. Maybe we can go back and learn about everything in regards to. Maybe we could learn. The Meforshim here point this out. It's not so clear from the Gemara. Maybe we could learn about the fact that these animals that have the kil, kildi, and the chabak, which we started with earlier on the daf. Maybe we could learn that from mace back to sheretz. Maybe we don't need the initial drasha. We'll get back to this piece momentarily. So it says the Gemara, okay, maybe we can do that, but we're going to diverge for a second to something else, and then we'll come right back to that topic. Excuse me. So it says the Gemara, All we've been talking about so far is goat hair from an ace. Minayin l'rabos davar haba miznav hasus umiznav hapara. What about horse hair that comes from the tail, or hair that comes from the tail of a para, from a cow? How do we know that that is a similar din? Talmud lomar osak. That same exact phrase that we used 20 lines ago to learn out the kilkali and the chabak. We said, how do we know that the kilkali, it's been used already? Says the Gemara, you're trying to tell me that the words osak come to teach me the din, that we can expand the topic that we're talking about of goat hair to the hair of the horse on its tail, and the hair on the tail of a para. You learn that from osak v'ha'apikte l'kilkale v'chabak. We already learned about that. You can't use the same drasha twice. So if you have to pick one. Either the phrase osak that you're using to reference goat hair is expanding it to even other things, like the tail hair of the horse or the cow, or it's talking about the kilkali and the chabak from a bug, but you can't have it both. And listen to what the Gemara says. This is such a unique historical insight as to the development of halacha. Check this out. Says the Gemara, Hani mili, when did we use the psukim of osak to teach me about the kilkali and the chabak, to teach me that they're included in tuma? When was that true? Mekame, the leise gzeira shava. That was earlier, when we had yet to learn the gzeira shava from our rabbeim. But hashta the asi gzeira shava, aisur le. Unbelievable. There was a phase in history where we had the wrong psukim to teach us halachos. It's not that the halacha was wrong. We were just trying to find the marmakal. We knew that the kilkali and the chabak were included in regards to the isser of tuma here. We knew that these straps to hold the saddle were tameh. We didn't know why. We initially thought it was from the pasuk of osak, and comes along the Gemara and says that no, you just didn't know the gzeira shava at the time. Now we have the gzeira shava. We learned back from mace back to the world of sheretz to teach me that din. And now the words osak are now available again. Good. What do we do with this extra space of the drasha for osak? Says the Gemara. From that we learn that we can expand the materials that we're talking about. And we're going to expand the materials that we're talking about from just goat hair to even the hair on the tail of a cow and on a horse. I only know that this expansion is true in regards to sheretz. Betumas meis minayin. Your drasha is great, but it's just the words osak, and the words osak we're talking about the pasuk of sheretz. So now we have another problem. How do we bring back? We've worked everything out so far. We understand where everything lies. Pretty much the same is true because of the gzeira shava, both in the world of sheretz and in the world of mace. But if you're saying that the words osak are used to teach me about expanding the materials from only goat hair to also the hair on the tails of a para and a sus, but that's only by sheretz. So how do I know now to expand that back to the world of mace? Says the Gemara, but tumas mace minayin. Says the Gemara, v'dinu, maybe it's logical. Time b'mace, but time b'sheretz. Maksha time b'sheretz, just like when it was tame by sheretz. Also, davar haba miznav asus miznav para. Kimaisi izim. Maybe we could argue logically. Remember that logic is limited. That just like by a sheretz, we learned that we expanded the hair of an aiz of a goat to even other materials. So then maybe we should say the same thing. Af kshatime b'mace. Also, davar haba miznav asus miznav para. Kimaisi izim. Says the Gemara, like I said before, logic only goes so far. Because when you're comparing a sheretz to a mace, your logic is limited. Says the Gemara, hein, is that a comparison you can make? Im nirbe betumas erev, shehi meruba. We're talking about something which is tumas erev. In the world of tumas shratzim, if a person gets touched by a dead sheretz of the shmona shratzim, one of these 8 types of rodents that you touch, you're tameh until nighttime. That's it. And that's a very common form. It's meruba. That happens all the time. Nearby, you're going to try to extrapolate from that world, which is commonplace, relatively speaking. You're going to try to extrapolate from there the tuma sheva to a type of tuma when you touch a mace when you have 7 days of tuma. Shehi mu'etes, and it's very uncommon. Your logic is limited. So what does the Gemara revert back to teach us? That the materials that we said are usher by tumas sheretz expand also to the world of tumas mace. There, Talmud Lomar, we go back to our resilient and reliable Gzeira Shava. Talmud Lomar, Beged ve'or l'Gzeira Shava. Nemar, Beged ve'or b'sheretz, v'nemar, Beged ve'or b'meis. we have the words beged and or by sheretz and by mace. And once you've created the connection, it's like two computers. Once I've created the connection to you, we can go back and forth. Sheretz can learn from Tuma, Tuma can learn from Sheretz. So now we have this connection, and we need to take one more thing over the bridge of the Gzera Shava, which is the expansion of materials which are subject to Tuma when a mace touches that material. Now it's not just Ezim, it's not just the hair of a goat, it's including even the hair of a tail, the hair of the tail of a para and a sus. Excuse me, sorry. And then says the Gemara, Talmud Lomar, the Gzera Shava, v'nemar beged v'or b'meis. Ma beged v'or ha'amor b'sheret, asa davar haba miznava sus, miznava para k'mais izim, af beged v'or ha'amor b'meis. So too, in regards to beged v'or, that pasuk over there, the receiving end of the Gzera Shava, we learn from there that in regards to the mace, that asa davar haba miznava sus, miznava para k'mais izim. So now the Gzera Shava is complete. Basically, the halachos are exactly the same in regards to these materials that the Bryce was talking about on the bottom of the page. Just a very short summary to keep us on tap here so that we know what's going on, is that we were talking about these garments of whether or not they're tameh. In short, we have a Gzera Shava that teaches us all of the following: that a garment that is woven, whether it becomes tameh by a sheret or whether it becomes tameh by a mace, is tameh. And the chavalim and meshichos, the ropes, are not tameh because they're not woven. This applies in the world of sherets, and this applies in the world of mace. And the reason we know it is because of Gzera Shava. Our initial understanding of the word osak teaches me something different. It no longer teaches me the kilkali and the chabak like I initially thought, but rather an expansive din that it's not just the hair of Ezim, but also the hair of the Znav Sus and the Znav Para. And because of a Gzera Shava, we can transfer that to mace. Also, all of the dinim are exactly the same in both of these cases. Now the Gemara is going to dig into a nuance within the world of Gzera Shava. Mufne, and we know the word mufne means that when we do a Gzera Shava, we know that those words are available for the Gzera Shava. Let's say that the words or and beged were already used for something else. That's a problem. You can't use a Gzera Shava if it's already been used. So the Gemara is just highlighting to us mufne, those words are available to be used. Ilav mufne, because if they were not available, if you're not able, if those words are not available to be used in the Gzera Shava, then we have to fall back on our logic because, and that's a logic that we've seen already, that is that there are distinctions between sheret and tumas mace. So it has to be that the word is available. Lae, Rashi here says that the word lae means be'emes. Really, afnu ye mufne. Really, these words are available. Nichli, let's see. Sheret is kash de shechla zera. We have seen that sheretz is similar, is compared to in the psukim to shechla zera. Dechsiv ish asher teitzei mimenu shechla zera. That a man after having a seminal emission, v'samech le ish asher yiga b'chol sheretz, a man who touches any sheretz, uchsiv be b'shechla zera v'chol beged v'chol or asher yiyeh alav shechla zera. Asher yiyeh alav shechla zera. In that third pasuk, we have beged and we have or, and the Gemara points out that we have no drushos that are utilized by that. Beged or the kata rachmana b'sheretz lamali. We seem to have a beged b'sheretz, a beged or that's available. So what am I going to use for that? It's not being used. Shmami no. We come to see from here lafnuye. That there we see that it's going to be used for our Gzera Shava. Ay ve'akati mufne mitzad echadu. All we see is that it's only available on one side. Now, when a Gzera Shava is only available on one side, you can still make the Gzera Shava, but then it's only a one-way street. So there are gradations within the world of Gzera Shava. The highest form of Gzera Shava is when both psukim are not being used for anything else, and then you build a proper Gzera Shava. But when there's only one side available, you can still use the Gzera Shava, but it's limited in scope. So it says the Gemara, "Ve'akati mufne mitzad echadhu." It's only available on one side. So it says the Gemara, "Hanicha." That makes perfect sense. That I understand. That I understand. I could learn, but I can't learn anything back. I can learn to there, but I can't learn from there. That I get. But according to the man d'amar who hold according to the one who says that you are allowed to learn in both directions, so that's a problem. What would he then say? How would he then have pshat? That's what Rashi says here. Rashi says, Dibur HaMaschil, 5 lines from the bottom, if there's something difficult to learn, we can learn in this way. We can answer, if you don't have both sides, then you're left with your logic again that the Gzera Shava is not really a full Gzera Shava. And if that's true, then you have to fall back on the distinctions between sheretz and tumas mace. So therefore, says the Gemara, here is how that shita would answer. The shita that says lameid umashiv and ma'ika lameimar, says the Gemara, 3/4 of the way down end of the line. Says the Gemara, Michael Meimar, Demes Nami Afnuye Mufne. It must be that really that each part of the Gzera Shava, Beged Va'or, is available on the side of Sheretz, and Beged Va'or is available on the side of Tumas Mace. Afnuye Mufne. Michti, let's see. How did he learn this out? Mace Iskash L'Shechva Zera. A dead body as well is similar to, is compared to in some ways, Shechva Zera. They're put in the same pasuk. Beged v'or d'kasav rachmana b'meis lamali shma mino la'afnuye. So here the Gemara says that this was an ideal, highest level form of Gzera Shava, where on both sides, both sets of psukim, the Beged v'or by mace and the Beged v'or, the words by the world of Sheretz, each of them were available for the highest level of a Gzera Shava, and therefore we understand all of the halachos that we've learned. Again, to just briefly highlight them, that the straps of the kilkali and the chabak will be tameh, and the expansion of garments from ezim, from the goat hair, would expand even to the tail hair of a cow and to a horse. And last but not least, but the chavalos and the mashichos, the ropes that are used to pull the animal, will not be tameh because they were not woven. Baruch Hashem. 10 lines from the bottom, and we are now going to learn quickly to get to the middle of the next page. This Gemara here is speaking about a time after Bilam recommended to the Midian women and the Moab women to go seduce the Jewish men. 24,000 people died because of this behavior. It says the pasuk over here, and the pasuk reads, I'm just going to read it from here so I may read it right. Vanakrev es korban Hashem ish asher matzah kli zahav etz adav etzamid tabas agil v'chumaz. And the pasuk ends here, lechaper al nafshosenu lifnei Hashem. So what happened was is that they pillaged the Midianites after their Aveira. Kadosh Baruch Hu told them to kill Midian, so they did, and they took a lot of the spoils. They took a lot of booty from where they were. So says the Gemara, Amar Rebbe Lazar, when they were stealing things from people, when they were pillaging, what were they taking? What were these? Everything else we know what they mean. That does a bracelet, Samid as well. Tabas is what's Agil v'Chumaz? What are those things? And why were we giving it to HaKadosh Baruch Hu as a matana? Says the Gemara, Amar Rebbe Lazar, Agil zedfus shel dadim. It was a dfus. It was a cast of a woman's chest, representative of their aveira that they were following their taiva. Kumaz zedfus shel beis harechem, and a kumaz was something that was made in the shape of a uterus of a rechem, again to reference their failures. Amar of Yosef, Yihachi. This is actually the word kumaz, and the way you defined it, Hachi hainu d'metargeminan machuch. Davar hamevi lidegichuch, that which makes a person to be lewd, to be playful, a reference to the Beis HaRechem, to a woman's uterus. Amar le Rabba, no, you don't even need that. Megufe de crush mamina. Look at the word kumaz. Says the Gemara, kumaz kan makom zima. This is the place where inappropriateness takes place. A reference, of course, to the osa makom, a woman's private parts. By Iksof Moshe al Pekude Hechayil. Later, after this point, Moshe was upset with the soldiers. What was going on there? Amar Rav Nachman, Amar Rabba bar Avua, Amar Lehen Moshe l'Yisrael. Moshe said to the Jewish people, Shema chazartem l'kil kulchem harishon. Maybe you guys are actually doing the same averos you were doing before with the Moabites and with the Midianite women. So they said back to Moshe, Amar lo, no, that's not correct. Lo nifkad mimenu ish. We're not missing one person. That wasn't the reference of their physical representation. It was a reference to their souls, that they were doing right. They were doing everything good. So then Moshe said, Amar lenim king kapara lama. Why do you have to get kapara? If everything is all perfect, so why are you looking for kapara? And they gave a beautiful answer. Amar lo imidi averi yatzanu. It's true that we stopped physically doing the averas with these women. True, accurate. However, midei hirhor lo yatzanu. We're still being meharher. We're still violating the isurim of hirhor, of thinking inappropriately. Lo yatzanu. Miyad, and then immediately vanakreves korban Hashem, they brought a korban. They didn't bring a korban with animals here. They were giving over the spoils to HaKadosh Baruch. Tana debate Rabbi Shmuel. Rabbi Shmuel had a slightly different variation on this. Why is it that they needed kapara? Turning to the top of Daf Samach Daled Amud Aleph, Mipnei shazanu einehem min ha'avera. Because they had hana, they were looking at things that were inappropriate that they should not be looking at. And in fact, Amar Rav Sheshes, why is it that we made a comparison in a pasuk to takshitin mibachutz, jewelry that's worn externally and jewelry that's worn internally. Says the Gemara, Lomar lach, kol hamistakel be'etzbak tana shalisha kila mistakel b'makom latorfa. That anyone who looks at a woman's pinky, it's as if he looked at her private parts. What does that mean? That's not true. Those are not the same two things. So what's pshat in the Gemara? So obviously the pshat is that the pshat is that he's doing so with an angle, with a sexual glint, with a sexual perspective, to turn something which is otherwise not a bathing suit part of the body to make it into something erotic and that's not right. That's usher. The Shulchan Aruch quotes this as well. The Shulchan Aruch and Even HaEzer, it's quoted here in Os Katan Aleph of the Ein Mishpat Ner Mitzvah. He quotes it here in Even HaEzer Siman Kaf Aleph Aleph that one is not allowed to look at a woman's pinky if it's for the wrong reasons. That's not right. Pashut, everything that is supposed to be covered, that's also for sure usher. But the iconization of a woman's physical body to represent more than it appears to be is totally usher. And that's what Rav Sheshes is pointing out here. Ki'ilu mistakel ba'osa b'makom hatorfa, that one is looking at the actual place of a woman's private parts, which is inappropriate. Poskim reference that this is there's an aspect of this which is true by husbands as well, to make sure that one is not mevaza to be mistakel ba'osa makom. The new Mishnah here opens up 6 lines down, Samach Dalet Amud Beis, almost done for the evening. So here the Mishnah opens up, Yotza Isha Bechute Seyar, Be Mishala, Be Mishal Chaverta. A woman is allowed to go out wearing some type of hair that's woven into hers, whether it's hers or its friends or her friends, Bein Mishal Behema, or if it's hair from an animal that she wanted to weave into her hair, Uvitotefes, Uvisarvitin, Bisman Shein Tfurin. These are things that she would attach to her hat. These were like pieces of jewelry that she would attach to her hat. Bekavul, ubepea nachris, and with a wool cap or with a pea nachris is a wig lechatzer. She could wear it into her chatzer. B'mochshe be'ozna, if she has a piece of cotton in her ear. Uvemokshe besandala, she has something in her shoe to make her shoe more comfortable. Uvemokshe skina linidasa, or if it's a bedika cloth that a woman has inserted in for the sake of ensuring that she actually has no blood flow during the time that she's trying to transfer from her days of bleeding to her days of Shevanikim, a custom that we have nowadays as well, that when a woman, after a minimum of 5 days of a period, when she's trying to transfer into her days of Yemei Tara, into her Shevanikim, so she'll do a Hefsek Tara on the evening going into the 8th night, and assuming that is correct, then she'll take a Badika cloth and insert it into the Makom HaErva and leave it there for 42 minutes. The post can discuss how long. In Sham, there's kulas on this as well when necessary, but this is something that is still done nowadays. It's a chumrah. Granted, it's a chumrah, but it is the appropriate minhag in Klal Yisrael, and one should not be maked without speaking to a competent Rav. Bipilpel, if she had pepper in her mouth to combat bad breath. Uvigalgal melach, if she had some salt in her mouth to help with an injury. Anything that was put in her mouth for medicinal purposes. It's not ideal to put it there on Shabbos. If in fact it falls out from one's mouth in a public domain, it should not be put back. Period. Sorry. Shein toseves, shein shalzaf. If a woman has a false tooth, Rabbi Matir, v'chachamim osr. Okay. That one is maybe you can wear false teeth out, maybe not. Good shilas as they apply to dentures. Are the dentures glued in? What about wearing Invisaligns? What about all the other things, retainers? All good shilas that could come out of this Mishnah. Not for now. It's been a long shir already, just a couple of minutes left. Says the Gemara of Itzricha. What did we need? We needed the Mishnah to stipulate all 3 cases of hair extensions, that of her friends, that of herself, and that of animals. Why did we need all 3? If we were only talking about her own hair, that's mishum de lo mais, because her own hair she knows is not disgusting. Aval chaverta de mais, maybe her hair friend is not as well kept as hers. So then I might have thought, emalo. V'yashmina de chaverta, maybe I would have thought that her friends, at least it's the basmin, at least it's human hair, it's the same min, it's the same type, and therefore that should be permissible. I might have thought that the animal hair is not the same as human hair. Maybe that's not allowed, and therefore we had to list that in the Mishnah as well to say that it is. Therefore, tzricha. Tana ubilvad shelo tetzei yalda b'shel zakena uzakena b'shel yalda. You could wear a sheitel, but a yalda, a young girl, can't walk out with a sheitel that's for an old lady, right? And the opposite is a zakena b'shel yalda. An old woman who's 100 years old can't go out with a jet black sheitel. That also doesn't work. Says the Gemara, Bishlama zakena b'shel yada Yeah. Obviously, if an older woman is putting on younger hair, that's considered an improvement. We understand why that's problematic. Why would that be usher? After all, it's a gnai. It's obvious that she wouldn't want to wear it. Says the Gemara, you're right. We don't need it for halachic purposes, just to make the Mishnah a little easier to read. I did Tana Zakena B'Shel Yalda, Taninami Yalda B'Shel Zakena. Since we taught the elder because of the younger, which we needed to teach, we therefore added the obvious case of Yalda B'Shel Zakena, that a young girl cannot go out, which would be the equivalent of a Purim sheitel. A young girl who's, let's say a young married woman who's 25 cannot wear a sheitel that's all gray. How would this change nowadays? There's a somewhat of a noticeable trend that there are women who started dyeing their hair gray, young women who started dyeing their hair gray. This is not uncommon. When does the trend change? How many people have to be involved in such a unique thing in order to undo these types of isurim? Good questions, not for now, and I have no idea what the answers are in this case anyways. But we will pause here a little bit less than an hour. Wishing you all a beautiful week. Shavua Tov, which should be a good tabach. Kol tov.